Are you a year-round homeschooler? Are you considering it? Today we're going to talk all about advantages to year-round schooling. As I was planning and filming last week's video all about our summer homeschool plans, I found myself thinking about and talking a lot about the advantages to year-round homeschooling. And so I just decided to run with it and to devote this week's video to advantages of year-round homeschooling, or at least the benefits and advantages that I think of when I think about year-round schooling. Now, this is not going to be an all-inclusive full video on the subject. There is so much to year-round homeschooling, but just some things that came to mind as I was thinking about the topic. We have not always been year-round homeschoolers. When I first started homeschooling about 9 years ago, I strictly followed the public school calendar. We would start our homeschool year at the end of August, beginning of September, right around Labor Day, and we would school until Memorial Day. We would take a big summer break every summer. We would do a Christmas break, a spring break. I mean, really, I followed the letter of the law with the public school calendar. But all of that changed when I got pregnant with baby number 4, Ezra. He was due at the end of February, and when he was born, I found myself having to take most of the spring off of our schooling. And this really threw me for a loop and forced me to have to finish up our school year in June and July and August. Doing this really helped to encourage me to realize that I had more control and flexibility in our homeschool schedule than I ever realized. It gave me the confidence to make our schedule work for us rather than the other way around. Very soon after that, we were surprised to become pregnant with Ava, baby number 5. And so once that happened, we were all in. We were definitely labeling ourselves year-round homeschoolers. One of my favorite things about year-round homeschooling is that it really takes the pressure off. I no longer have this deadline looming over me that we have to be done homeschooling by the end of May or early June. We can work at our own pace. So if I have a child who hasn't quite finished their math curriculum at Memorial Day, it's all right. If I have another child who maybe finishes their handwriting workbook in February, we can go ahead and just move on to the next grade level or the next workbook in the series. There is nothing magical about August that we have to wait until they are turning to that next grade. So this really gives us a lot of flexibility to work at our own pace, subject by subject. Now, very closely related to this is momentum. Year-round homeschooling really helps us to keep that momentum going. In my experience, so often in our homeschool, we will finally find a really great rhythm, or we'll get into the homeschool groove, and then suddenly the calendar tells us that we are supposed to take a break. It's supposed to be spring break or summer break or Christmas break. And so I feel the obligation to stop. And with that, I halt our progress. I stop the momentum. Well, with year-round homeschooling, I don't feel the pressure to do that anymore. We can just keep plugging along and doing our work when we are in that really great rhythm. And we can take a break later when I'm pulling out my hair and everybody needs a few days off. Year-round schooling has also made my homeschool planning so much easier. I no longer feel like I have to have everything figured out in our homeschool by August. I have the flexibility and the freedom to take things one season or one term at a time. I can change up curriculums mid-year. I can ditch something when it's not working for us because I am not tied to this 9-month-long public school year calendar. Now, kind of along that same vein, this is something I've mentioned on my channel before, but I feel like year-round homeschooling really benefits those early elementary school younger kids. I don't know what it is about that age range, but if you take too long of a break, if you take June, July, and August off of school, for instance, for some reason, all of those math facts and phonics skills and all of those things that you spent the entire spring teaching them just fly out of their brain over the summer. And then you are left having to review and reteach all of those things in September, October, sometimes even into November. I personally made that mistake multiple times with my older kids, and I just refuse to do it again. In my opinion, one of the best benefits of year-round homeschooling is that we do not have to do as much review. I am not having to waste my time spinning my wheels doing things over and over again because we're never taking too long of a break that my kids are forgetting things. Another huge advantage to year-round homeschooling is that we are able to take breaks when we need to, not when the calendar says we are supposed to. So for example, weather. We live in the Midwest, and so we have very hot summers and very cold winters. And these are the perfect days, the perfect times for us to get a lot of homeschool done because it's too hot or too cold to play outside. We would much rather take our break in the fall or in the spring when the weather is beautiful outside and my kids can play outside without having to bundle up or without sweating to death. Now, very much related to this would be sick days. Everybody has sickness or illness hit their house from time to time throughout the school year. It never happens when it is convenient. And I don't know about you, if you have a big family, maybe you can relate to this. For some reason, sickness always tends to hit my kids like dominoes. I have one kid who gets up in the middle of the night on Monday. The next kid doesn't get sick until Thursday. The third one doesn't get sick until the following weekend. And so we'll have, a good 2 weeks of kids being sick. And so year-round homeschooling really helps to kind of take that guilt away. I know that I can take that break, take those couple weeks off school when we need to, and we can make them up any time. Sometimes mama just needs a break. Sometimes I need a day or two off after caring for sick kids for several weeks. Or as I've talked about this on my channel before, sometimes I need a teacher work day or a teacher work week, time that I can devote to planning or printing curriculum or just getting some activities and things organized for our homeschool. Sometimes I need to take a day off just to take a nap. I'll just be honest. I don't have a substitute teacher that I can call in to homeschool my kids for me. And so having the flexibility to take a break when I need to, not when the calendar says I am supposed to, is just one of my favorite things about year-round homeschooling. Oh, and while I'm on the topic related to this, vacations. Being a year-round homeschooler really has saved us a ton of money on our vacations. We are able to go and rent a beach house in the fall or in the winter or in the spring when it is not peak season, when there is not as many people there, and when the rates are so much cheaper. I mean, sometimes half the price. So year-round homeschooling actually saves us money. Now, my absolute favorite reason for year-round homeschooling is that it has created a family rhythm, a family culture that is focused on learning. School has just become a part of our typical routine. It's a part of our daily life. And so my kids wake up every day expecting to do something educational, something school related. And so this really communicates to them that learning, that education is always a priority. It is supposed to be a part of their everyday. Now, bonus, this also keeps things very consistent, very predictable for my toddlers, for my babies. And we all know that those age of children thrive on structure, on routine, on predictability. So year-round homeschooling really has benefited them, even though they are not a part of our formal homeschool. If you are considering becoming a year-round homeschooler, I would definitely encourage you to try it out. You may just fall in love with it like we have. But before you do, I would definitely challenge you to think through your definition of what the word school means. Does school mean formal curriculum, textbooks, focusing on one subject at a time? Or does school mean nature walks, cooking in the kitchen with mom, watching a documentary on the TV, playing outside with friends? What do you classify your child's schoolwork to include? Now, it could be some of these things. It may be something completely outside the box. Personally, I try to be very intentional about trying to include school or education in our everyday activities and family life. So, for example, when my kids are outside playing with sidewalk chalk in the driveway, maybe I'll challenge them to write a couple of their spelling words with sidewalk chalk. When we are going to the park for a play date to meet friends, maybe I'll have my older kids take their nature journals along. When my kids are tired and vegging out on the couches watching TV, I try to encourage them to turn on an episode of Magic School Bus or an animal documentary. All of these are examples of ways that me as mama can sneak in some school in my kids' day-to-day normal activities, even when we are not sitting down and having a formal curriculum school day. All right, guys, well, that wraps things up. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to take a second and give it a thumbs up, like it down below. While you're at it, leave me a comment and don't forget to subscribe. I have a bunch of fun content planned for this summer that you are not going to want to miss. See you later.